Hello dear viewers and welcome to Veil of Death MTG, and where today I am going to dig into the new Universes Beyond said Marvel Spider-Man. Now I'm not going to dwell on the fact that licensing for this product is complicated and well, digital enjoyers will have a headache from it. So instead I will summarize my history with Spider-Man, which started when I was a kid and watched the 90s animated show, later the 2000s video games on PS1, and then the movies, which makes me extremely qualified to talk about some of these cards for cEDH. First things first, I want to mention Lyla, holographic assistant, which is a legendary, great quality control guys, illusion advisor 2/2 for free in a blue with a simple ability: whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And the reason I bring that up is basically the Banthic Biomancer, because anytime it gets a counter, it loots. So draw this card. Yes, there are some curiosity-based combos, but basically you can now draw your entire deck in mono blue and throw it in the bin with the Merfolk and the Illusion. A complicated tainted pack, but again, we are just in blue, so I think this will be more of a support card rather than a commander, but I wanted to mention it for those mono blue lovers in the audience. Moving on, I want to talk about something that is actually good, and that is the new modular card style in this set. And to talk about it, I have the one and only Norman Osborn here with me. That is a legendary scientist, wink wink, for 1 in the blue, is a 1/1, can't be blocked, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, he connives. Which is basically draw this card, and if you discard a non-land card, Norman gets a counter. However, mono blue is not the color identity, since it has another ability for 1 and grixis, so blue, black, red. He turns into the Green Goblin, which is the same cost by the way on the backside, which means you can cast it either from the front or the backside, which is cool. But let's look at what the Green Goblin actually does. So he is a legendary villain with Flying Menace and is a 3/3. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast, and as a bonus it has Goblin Formula. Each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. The Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost, which basically means you may cast a card from your graveyard for its Mayhem cost if you discarded it this turn. Timing rules still apply. I call Mayhem basically Madness Light. Before I continue, Norman's son Harry is also in this set as the Revenant, but his ability is, well, so bad he does not hold water to his father, and probably will eat a pumpkin bomb or something. But I still wanted to mention him, and now go back to his dad. You know what is great in Grixis? Underworld Breach. But Green Goblin's best friend in all cEDH will always be LED or Lion's Eye Diamond, and the bonus of making spells cast from your graveyard cheaper is even more fun. However, keeping track of which card you discarded that turn and which not will one day be a pain in the ass, so keep an eye out on that. Still, Norman looks like a great Grixis option for a commander in cEDH, and I can't wait to see him do something in tournaments. Let's now look at some of the 99 options in this watered down standard set. Yeah, I do not mean to sound harsh, I'm just in a little roasty mood, wink wink. Electro, Assaulting Battery. Electro for 1 and 2 red is a 2/3 legendary villain with flying, and this fun text: you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you add a red mana, and when Electro leaves the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, he deals X damage to target player. In this case, I will come out and say that this is Bergy Light, but an interesting fit for Storm decks, I think. Sure, it's not as great as Bergy, and the leave the battlefield trigger even is weird. I mean, with basically infinite mana, you kill just one opponent unless you copy the trigger a few times. Still, that it is a leave trigger instead of like an instant trigger is kinda weird. Not sure what else to make of Electro. I just have memories from him, from his game, but I'm sure there are some Storm decks in red and blue that will find at least the unspent red mana interesting. Not many, but a few. Maybe. Going to stay in the red and look at a hero instead of a villain, and this time we have Spider-Punk, which is like my second favorite variant of Spider-Man from the Into the Spider-Verse movies. Just look at the flavor text. Anyways, Spider-Punk is a 2/1 for 1 in the red and has Riot. Basically it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it or haste. It gives that ability to other spiders you control, and also it has spells and abilities can be countered and damage can't be prevented. Lots of text on this one for sure. To circle back to the spells and abilities not being countered, it's not just yours, it's everyone's. It's kind of like Lear, which is interesting in a way, but I'm not want to, play it and pass turn. If I play, I want to win on that turn. Also, funny fact about the abilities, since Riot cannot be really responded to. Like there is no enters trigger, just enters with a counter or haste. But the most crucial part here these days is the final one about damage. Since many players do play the One Ring, and maybe combo decks that need to deal damage may stumble a bit, so having damage that can be prevented helps, even with the One Ring protection. Still a very interesting choice of abilities on Spider-Punk, that's for sure. Now we are going to get into my favorite part of the video, since it features my favorite character that I was introduced to in the Spider-Verse films, and that is Gwen Stacy, aka Ghost Spider. Another modular commander like Norman mentioned earlier. It's like almost having a free color partner, almost. So anyways, Gwen is a legendary human performer hero for 1 and a red. When Gwen Stacy enters, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control this creature. And for 2 and Jeskai, so red, white and blue, you can transform Gwen Stacy. Activate only as a sorcery, but also, again, you can cast this commander for the same cost instead of waiting to transform that. Once she's on the other side, she has now Flying, Vigilance and Haste, and whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Ghost Spider. Also, remove 2 counters from Ghost Spider, exile the top card of your library, you may play the card this turn. Obviously, Jeskai is great for various Underworld Breach lines, but she works great with Dramatic Reversal and Isochron Scepter. And why is that? Thanks to the fun rule that a copy of a spell in exile is also being cast from exile, or the same location basically, and that is just, fun ruling. But I will be a little teasier and tell you that in 2 weeks I will have a more in-depth deck tech for Gwen over here, so remember to hit that like button, subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss that or any other fun upload. And now we get a character I learned about after I watched the movies, and I am excited that she is also represented in this set. And that is Gwen's darker alter ego, namely Gwenom Remorseless. For 3 and a 2 black is a legendary symbiont spider hero. She has Death Touch and Lifelink and is a 4/4, and whenever Gwenom attacks, until end of turn you may look at the top card of your library anytime and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. Now, does that text sound familiar? Yes it does, because that is basically Bolas' Citadel text. And look, she does not even have to connect. Just by attacking, you get that trigger, and well, with a Citadel in the command zone, you have one less piece to search for to assemble a combo. Mono Black Storm is eating well today, and even if she is not the fastest Storm deck in that color, you could say she very well is the coolest. I do need to get to that full comic story and read it. It just looks awesome, and the art is just amazing. On a side note, this is the penultimate set review for cEDH this year. We only have one more set coming out, and really, I am not sure how I got here. Something to do with Spider-Man. So let's do some good and look at the next card. Web of Life and Destiny is an enchantment for 6 and 2 green with Convoke, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So if this spell did not have Convoke, I would not even mention it, but we know how Convoke is a strong mechanic, especially in cEDH, and green/Simic decks, maybe even like Kitten, want a piece of the action? But is this a card that these decks actually want? I am not sure. And now we move on to Spider Sense, an instant for 1 and a blue that counters target instant spell, sorcery spell, or triggered ability. But it has the new web slinging ability for a single blue. And that means you may cast it for a web slinging cost, if you also return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. And I was hoping I can go and do a set review without ever mentioning Rograk, but since sacrificing him is a thing that is done a ton, why not return him to your hand after you tap him for mana with, one of the many mana tappers, and then replay him later, and then do all your crazy, sacrifice stuff or whatever. Or any other deck that wants to, repeat ETBs or tap creatures to be returned. WotC obviously wants Stifle to be a thing in one way or another, and here we have another variant. A very powerful one, but still. We'll see if it sees any play at all. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and are excited to see some webhead fun, but let me know in the comments below what you thought of the cards that I presented here, and if there are any cards that you like from the set I did not bring up. Let's open up a dialogue And if you did enjoy yourselves, please remember to subscribe and ring that bell to stay notified and never miss another fun upload. And as always, I will see you all behind the veil.